reported favorably.
Thank you.
Now I will pass the chair back over to Vice Chair Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under Rule 2.10, subparagraph 2, the President's authorized a continuation of this meeting until completion of the agenda. With that, we're going to take up tab 6, SB 1188 on local governing authorities by Senator McClain. Senator McClain, whenever you're ready, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senators, SB 1188 aims to reduce regulatory burdens on school-related construction and streamline development processes. The bill allows public school construction and certain charter school projects to bypass concurrency requirements. This bill lets developers satisfy impact fees by donating land, constructing school facilities, or making improvements of equal or greater value within a 3-mile radius. It also prohibits local governments from enforcing vehicle stacking ordinances on public or private schools in ways that limit student enrollment during drop-off or pickup times. Finally, the bill prevents local governments from imposing unnecessary building requirements on startup charter schools, making it easier to establish and operate them. That is the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions on the bill? Okay. Seeing none. We do have one appearance form on the bill. It is Yenisbel Villorio, representing 6 Action, waves against. Members, is there anyone wishing to debate the bill? Okay, seeing none, you recognize to close.
I'll waive close.
All right, having waived close, Tatiana, please call the roll on SB 1188.
Senator Jones?
Yes.
Senator Leek?
Yes.
Senator Pasidoma?
Yes.
Senator Pizzo? Senator Sharif?
No.
Senator Trumbull?
Yes.
Vice Chair Senator Fine?
Yes.
Chair Senator McClain?
Yes.
All right. Sorry. By your vote, SB 1188 shall be reported favorably. Finally, we'll take up tab 4, SB 1118 on land use and development regulations by Senator McClain. Senator McClain, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, you know, the challenges with growth management is people have not stopped moving to Florida, and it doesn't look like they're going to do that anytime soon. Certainly, for those of you that maybe follow development or the housing market, it has slowed down some. Obviously, there may be some headwinds created through tariffs and some of that kind of stuff. But so, you know, one of the things that we have to always grapple with is how do we supply enough homes for the people that are moving here, and certainly then we get into a back and forth between the communities that we live in and how much growth is taking place, but it doesn't change the fact that we have to find ways to make sure that housing is available for those people that are moving here. I wish so. You know, I've been working. One of the things that I heard a study not too long ago. It said that 30% of the cost of a new home is caused by government regulation, and that could be spread across a myriad of different types of things that add to it. But and so it's one of the things that I focused on during my time in the Florida House, and more from the regulatory environment. Some of the things that we're going to look at today are regulatory issues that exist, and I think they merit discussion. And because one of the things that happens is we have an inconsistent application of the current laws that we have, and so we'll end up one day we're approving developments. The next day we try to stop development, and that's not consistent. Consistent would be, what does the law say, and how can we live within those, or how can we work within that? And so anything that I'm going to bring forward today, anything that's in the current amendment, will be issues that I believe are have been, you know, are understood to be challenges, and so those are the types of things that I'm doing. I do have a strike call, Mr. Chairman.
You do.
Okay.
You do. We're going to take questions on the bill, but there is a delete all amendment. Okay, so we're going to move on to that.
Okay.
There's one delete all amendment, and there's one amendment to the delete all amendment.
Correct.
We're going to take up amendment barcode 632862 by Senator McClain. Senator McClain, you're recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We got the bill drafted. Kind of got it in some order. I went back through it. When you put words on paper, they look a little bit different than maybe what you thought they were going to. And so our staff did a great job of getting this kind of put into the right posture. And so here are some of the things that we're going to look at. Prohibit a county or municipality from requiring the installation of a work of art as a precondition to issuing a development permit. Provides that the approval of development allowed on agricultural enclave must be within 120 days. Provides that the definition of an agricultural enclave may include up to 700 acres. When the bill actually was at 640. And a third alternative may be any property within the bounds of a rural study area. Provides the property not currently equipped with public services may nonetheless be considered an ag enclave. Provides that the production of ethanol as used in the context of agricultural purposes is not considered chemical manufacturing or refining. Provides that the prohibition on initiatives or referendum processes for land use regulations include code, ordinance, rule, or charter provision. Redefines extraordinary circumstances for the purposes of impact fee increases. Extends the requirement for supermajority votes to include those amendments reducing density. Requires local governments to specify the hearing process for rezoning. Introduces a section relating to the definition of fuel terminals. Introduces sections relating to voluntary municipal annexation. Introduces a timeline and procedures for meetings on the review of plat submittals, and revises the current bill sections on homeowners associations. The introduction of recreational covenants is substantially similar in scope. That is the strike all.
All right, members, are there any questions on the amendment? Recognizing there is an amendment to the amendment, and we'll have questions again after we've dealt with that. But are there any questions to on the amendment?
Chair.
You're recognized.
Procedurally, are we going to go to the amendment first?
After we are done with if people have to ask questions on the amendment right now,
yes.
Recognizing there will be another bite at the apple,
okay.
The next thing we'll do is take up the amendment to the amendment.
I have a question, Chair.
Okay, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair. Chair McClain, on line 112 of the amendment, and I'm looking at the statute 581.011, and then looking at what we're doing now. It says, for the purpose of this section, the production of ethanol from plants and plant products as defined in this statute by fermentation, distillation, and drying is not chemical manufacturing or chemical refining. I guess my question is, are we sure we're not changing what the definition of a chemical is?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I think we're defining what the purpose of, or we're defining what the production of ethanol, how it's used and actually how it is done.
Mr. Chair?
Follow up, yep.
Thank you so much, Chair. I appreciate that. Well, the reason I'm asking that is because how it's written right now. And so I'll come back to this when we go to the amendment I guess my next question is on line 223 of the bill. We said that it's remedial in nature and applies retroactively to any initiative or referendum process commenced after June 1st, 2011. So what is the reason or the thought process behind the June 1st, 2011 date?
I believe it just goes back in and reaches into some things that would have that narrows the ability to develop certain properties.
Mr. Chair?
You're recognized.
Thank you so much. Are you not concerned by the potential overreach that the bill represents by, I guess, the state government into when looking at local zoning boards and communities that have already made the decisions regarding what does and does not meet the criteria of development?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that's why we're here, is to have a discussion about what things that we need to do to help, local governments move forward with development.
And Chair, Mayor,
Yep.
thank you.
Follow up.
I appreciate that, and thank you, Chair McLean, for that. Are we not concerned about? So I received about 150 calls on this piece of legislation so far, and I know I've received some calls from some individuals who live in Fernandina Beach and individuals who live in Amelia Island, and heard from both sides, Republicans and Democrats, who have expressed their opposition to the potential of their fear of ethanol plants being built next to private homes, based off of how we are redefining Statute 581.011. Are we not concerned? Are we not taking into consideration those concerns from those individuals? I guess what I'm trying to ask.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know the particulars of that particular process or project and where it's located. I think what we wanted to do was be able to define ethanol production and how it takes place and how it can take place.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, we can do more questions, but again, there will be another bite at the apple after we do the amendment to the amendment. Are there any more questions right now? Okay, seeing none, we're going to take up the amendment to the amendment, barcode 205334 by Senator McLean. Senator McLean, you're recognized to explain the amendment to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, we removed lines. We deleted ones 191 through 566. Some of the highlights of that of the removal were there were parts in here that discussed setting up or requiring that local governments do an inventory, if you will, of what lot sizes and could be inside of the urban growth boundaries, and also it had a administrative approval. We removed those pieces, and that is what the amendment did. So we removed that part from the current amendment.
Okay, members, are there questions on the amendment to the amendment? All right, seeing none, there are no. Yes, Senator Pizzo, you're recognized.
Thanks, and I think it dropped at like a little after 1 o'clock today, the 375 lines. What prompted the amendment to the amendment? If you don't mind saying.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So one of the things I struggle with when I'm doing some of this is I've tried to figure, is this a planning issue, or is this does this fit into a different category? And I felt like that, and I've had some discussions with some of the city folks and the county folks, and so I'm trying to, and I feel like that probably needed some more work as it related to that portion of the bill. And so I, thought, well, I'll just pull it out and then try to work on it as we go forward and try to come up, maybe approach it from a different perspective.
Okay, you good?
You ask one more question, Chair?
You can, go ahead. Remember, there's questions about the amendment to the amendment.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair McLean, you go back. I'm sitting here reading some of my notes of some of the people I've spoken with, and one of the groups that I've spoken with was for individuals from Orange County who've had a municipal annexation amendment. And so what we're doing today, would this undo the rural boundary municipal annexation amendment that they voted on?
Is that about the amendment to the amendment? But we're going to have multiple more question opportunities.
That's not about the amendment to the amendment.
We'll come. There'll be a time when we get to the bill once it's completely amended. That's a good, fair question.
Okay.
But any more questions on the amendment to the amendment? All right. Seeing none, we don't have any appearance forms for the amendment to the amendment. Is there any debate on the amendment to the amendment? All right, seeing none, Senator McLean, you're recognized to close on the amendment to the amendment.
I'll waive close.
All right, all in favor of the amendment to the amendment, say yay.
Yay.
Yay. All opposed, say nay. Show the amendment to the amendment adopted. So we're now back on the amendment as amended. This isn't when we're questions about the bill as amended, but there's 2 more chances for questions. Are there questions on the amendment as amended? Okay, seeing none, we do have some appearance forms on the amendment as opposed to the bill, which we'll get to later. All right, our first appearance form is Jared Willis, representing McKinnon Groves, waves in support. Karen Woodall, representing the Sierra Club, waves against. Matthew Gio, I'm sorry, I can't read your last name, but he wants to speak against, representing the Orange County Soil and Water Supervisors. If you can give your last name. You need to turn on the microphone. Matthew.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Can you give your
committee
last name
members.
again?
Yes, my name is Matthew Groholski. I'm the Orange County Soil and Water Supervisor for District 5, so Eastern Orange County. Over 70% of Orange County residents vote for a rural boundary, and I'll just effectively waive close on this amendment and speaking on opposition to it, but I'll just remind you that Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, everybody in Orange County vote for a rural boundary, and rolling back those protections is an infringement on our county charter and our county constitution, so I would respectfully ask for you to vote nay on this harmful amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Jeff Scala, representing the Florida Association of Counties, speaking against. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair McLean, again, thank you so much for your time and commitment to continue working on this bill. Do appreciate the provisions that were removed in the amendment to the amendment on infill, and in particular on that administrative approval process. Because really what that is, and I'm going to talk about the administrative approval process that's still in the bill as it relates to Ag Enclave. You know, through the Live Local Act, which is something that the Florida Association of Counties supported, we treated affordable housing special. And, because we need a more affordable housing in our communities. However, when we talk about administrative approvals and removing the locally elected officials from that process, it goes a bit too far. And in Ag Enclaves, we are really fast-tracking these lands that are subject to additional development, pressures. We have issues on Ag Enclave. We want to continue working with Chair McLean on a lot of the modifications in Chapter 163 as it relates to the definitions of compatibility. We'd essentially be saying that a single family would be treated the same as a high-rise. So we do have those concerns on the optional elements that are included in the plan. Chapter 163 is the Community Planning Act. And that, when we talk about the Community Planning Act, the focus there is on the word community. We really don't want to remove the community from these processes. So we're going to continue working on the bill. I could go through the rest of, the sections on impact fees, the supermajority votes, increase in threshold, some of the court proceeding changes that we have in the bill, but we'll continue to work on the bill. But for now, the Florida Association is opposed.
Thank you. All right, we have Matthew. I think you wanted to make sure we had you speak, so you got two, so we'll put that one away. Last one is Carrie Hebrank, representing the Florida Home Builders Association, wishes to speak in favor. And I'd ask you just to keep it brief.
Good evening. Carrie Hebrank, representing the Florida Home Builders Association. Just quickly, I want to draw your attention to two parts of the amendment in the bill. One deals with a prohibition on local governments requiring an art fee in advance of a building permit or a development order permit. We have some local governments who are charging as much as 2 to 3% of the development's project costs to put in place public art. We think this goes against the whole idea and the whole concept of affordable housing. The second also deals with an affordable housing criteria, if you will, and that is the adding a definition for extraordinary circumstances for impact fees. If you recall, in 2021, we asked for predictability as local governments raise their impact fees, and so we capped impact fees at 12.5% per year over a 4-year period. A local government could ultimately increase their impact fees by up to 50%. This gives builders and developers some predictability as they move forward with projects. We did provide a release valve, if you will, by saying that a local government, if they had extraordinary circumstances, they could pierce those caps. We didn't define extraordinary in 2021, and what we've run into is multiple local governments claiming they have extraordinary circumstances so they can exceed that 50% cap over the 4-year period. So what we're trying to do in this bill is define what we meant by extraordinary. We meant unique, unforeseen, unpredictable circumstances. We didn't mean tourism if you're Orlando and you have Mickey World down there. So we ask for your support on this bill, particularly for those two provisions. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. I'm going to ask one question because we're way past our time here. One question.
I'm 150% in support of what you just enumerated, standing alone. But as it relates to, let's say, specifically Orlando, how are we not supposed to think this is for one particular developer in one particular area of Central Florida that wants to build into environmentally sensitive areas? I'm all for it.
Is there a question? Is there a question?
Yeah, I'll restate it if you didn't hear it. The question was, how are we not supposed to think that this bill is not specifically for one developer in central Orlando to expand into environmentally sensitive areas is my question.
Great. You're recognized to answer the question.
I can honestly say it's not just for one developer. We had the city of Palm Bay, we had Hernando County, we have Volusia County, we had Orlando, all looking to use their definition of extraordinary circumstances, which we didn't believe was exactly extraordinary. And so if we define it now, we won't have to worry about that moving forward. It wasn't just for one developer, sir.
Thank you. That wraps up our appearance forms.
Mr. Chairman, I put in a card.
Did you put in a card on the bill, or did you put in a card on the amendment? Okay, sorry. We'll have to find it or get another one. Come on up.
Lewis.
And if you could say who you are and all that stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Louis Rotundo. I represent the city of Altamont Springs, and I wanted to follow up on some of the remarks that Ms. Hebrink just gave. I'm only going to speak on one provision. I'll try and be quick, and that provision is extraordinary. And Chairman McLean, you and I have spoken about this subject going back several years, and I appreciate you having brought forward this attempt at a definition. I think it's overdue. I think that there have been some efforts by some local governments to abuse the process, and it has been egregious. I have some personal experience with several of those local governments having done that, having been hired to examine the work that was done. 2 years ago in the House, we tried to address this issue. We did not succeed. Last year in House Bill 479, which you passed, we did indirectly address that issue, but I would tell you that this is a very valuable tool for local governments, and I would hate to see it go away, but I don't think the provision that's in the bill right now totally addresses what we should be considering moving forward for the state. Population is certainly one primary ingredient of the process, but I would also hold out to you that construction cost increases are another, vehicle miles traveled, building permits issued, all of those would give us a foundation so the local government that absolutely may need to declare extraordinary circumstances will be bound by several criteria that will make them have to demonstrate that it applies to them other than just, I need money. And with that, I will close.
All right. Sorry about that. We did find your card. All right. Is there any debate on the amendment? On the amendment. We'll get to the bill as amended. Seeing no debate on the amendment, Senator McLean, you're recognized to close on the amendment.
I'll waive close.
Having waived close, all in favor of the amendment, say yay. Yay. All opposed, say nay. The amendment's adopted. All right. We're back on the bill as amended. Last chance. This is the chance for questions. We good? Yes. President Pasadomo, you're recognized. Questions on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a myriad of questions on the bill amended, and I've discussed my questions with Chair McLean earlier. I'm not going to ask the questions here because I get it in rules, because there's a lot of people here that want to speak, and so I'm going to debate. I'm not going to ask questions for those who think I'm going to because of the time. So, just wait for me to debate because I have very serious questions about the bill.
Okay. Did you have a question?
No, Chair. I will give it over to the constituents to speak.
Okay, right. All right. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, we do have a lot of speakers' cards. Be cognizant of the fact we're 18 minutes past where we're going to be. I'm going to use the same time that was used in the previous debate, 30 seconds per person. So we're going to start with Matthew I still can't get your name right, speaking against the bill, representing the Orange County Soil and Water D5.
Yeah, Matthew Grholski, the Orange County Soil and Water Supervisor for District 5. I just wanted to further affirm that 73% of Orange County voters passed a rural boundary after decades of fighting for it in 2024. This bill seeks to retroactively roll back those protections. That 73% includes a man who I looked up to, Mr. Bobby Beagles. Bobby was affectionately called the Mayor of Christmas, not for his white beard, but for standing up for Eastern Orange County, including the small unincorporated area of Christmas. The last time I saw Mr. Beagles was at a county commission meeting where he stood up for the rural boundary. Today I'm asking for you to do that again and stand with the over 60% of Seminole County voters and the over 70% of Orange County voters who voted for those protections.
Thank you.
To get government out of there.
All right, next up we're going to have Elizabeth Alvey representing Audubon, Florida, speaking against, and after that we'll have David Cruz from the Florida League of Cities. You're recognized.
Good afternoon, Chair McLean. I'm Beth Alvey, Senior Director of Policy at Audubon, Florida, and thank you, members, for allowing us to speak. Growth management is truly important in a state as populous and fast-growing as ours, and local governments hold responsibility for a lion's share of these growth management decisions. So it's really important for us to allow them to retain the tools that they have available to them. I want to acknowledge the good amendment that you filed today. We're really happy with some of the provisions in it. There are some provisions in the bill in itself that we would like to work with you on, and so we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, David Cruz, speaking against on the Florida League of Cities, followed by Debbie DeLand. You're recognized. If you want to come on up, if you hear you're next, so we can get through it. You're recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Cruz with the Florida League of Cities. And given the time constraints, I'll be extremely brief and say that this bill severely undermines local government ability to properly manage growth. I would love to walk through some of the provisions that are concerning, but I would suffice it to say that cities are not opposed to development. They are, however, advocating for responsible, well thought out, well planned growth that protects the existing homeowners and the community, and that ensures that we have adequate infrastructure in place to support that. We are very appreciative of the sponsor's time and of his amendment to the amendment today. We hope to continue to work to try to craft policies that support development while still preserving the local government's ability to properly manage for this growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie DeLand. Speaking, all right, well, she'll wave against. Franklin Heilman, speaking against. And after him, we'll have Dave Gaddis. If you want to make your way up as well, Mr. Gaddis. First up, Franklin Heilman, speaking against. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Very briefly, because we are on that time constraint, I'm from Fernandina, no ethanol, Fernandina. This project, this bill, the language that we're talking about is solely about a project in Fernandina Beach. There is a project currently under consideration brought by a company called RYAM. They have been denied a building permit for this project because our current comp plan and LDC prohibits any plant that allows for chemical manufacturing or distribution. That's what they want. That's what they need. They have filed a lawsuit to that effect, and that is pending. So that's where we are. And the fact of the matter is we are making a change by this bill to the definition of what is chemical manufacturing. There's nothing to support it. The bill analysis doesn't say it. Please vote against it.
Understood. All right, Dave Gaddis from Bel Air Beach, speaking against.
You get the Reader's Digest version tonight. All right, I oppose SB 1118, a bill that takes power away from local governments and gives it to developers. It allows state-mandated zoning changes to override local decisions, forcing communities to accept development they may not want or are not prepared for. This bill sets a dangerous precedence. If the state can override zoning here, what stops it from doing so everywhere? We built these communities, live there, raise our families there, and run small businesses there. We should decide our own future, not developers looking for a quick profit.
Thank you.
Please vote no on SB 1118. Thank you.
Thank you. Chadwick Leonard, speaking against, representing 1,000 Friends of Florida, followed by Edward Briggs. Mr. Leonard, you're recognized.
Thanks, Chair. Good afternoon, Chair McClain, Vice Chair Fine, and esteemed committee members. My name is Chadwick Leonard, representing 1,000 Friends of Florida, a growth management conservation organization dedicated to protecting Florida's most vulnerable natural spaces since 1986. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We have substantial concerns regarding specific provisions in Senate Bill 1118, particularly those preempting local government authority, overriding comprehensive planning, and altering current land development regulations. Those provisions could endanger agricultural lands, intensify urban sprawl, strain public resources, and severely limit opportunities for meaningful local citizen participation. We appreciate the conversation with Senator McClain's office earlier today, and while we oppose the bill in its current form, we are dedicated to constructively collaborating with your office to approve some of these concerns.
All right, thank you. Edward Briggs.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
In lieu of time, on behalf of Highland Homes and Homes by Westray, we waive our time to support.
Waiving. Edward Briggs from Highland Homes, waiving in support. Avelia Perkins, waiving against. Karen Woodall, representing the Sierra Club, waiving against. Vance Aarons, waiving against. Ash Bradley, waiving against. Chris Doolin, representing the Small County Coalition, waiving against. Jeff Sharkey, representing Primark Ventures, waiving in support. Colton Taylor, waiving against. Sandra Plumador, waiving against. Deborah Daniels, waiving against. Francine Julius Edwards, excuse me, waiving against. Julie Kent, waiving against. Jackson Oberlink, representing Florida Rising, waiving against. Echo Nova, waiving against. Natalie Cato, representing Alliance for Commercial Real Estate, waiving in support. Kareem Golden, representing the Nature Conservancy, waiving against. Jensabel Valorio, representing 6 Action, waiving against. Jared Willis, representing McKinnon Groves, waiving in support. Is this another one? Or did I already do this one? Well, Mark Jeffries, representing Orange County, waiving against. All right, that wraps it up. Members, is there anyone wishing to debate?
Really briefly.
Go ahead, Senator.
Even though many of my local elected officials have campaigned on affordable housing and smart growth, I spent too much time this summer trying to defend and defeat those same individuals who were trying to stifle affordable housing development in the spirit and the language that we did here in the Senate. So I am mindful of municipalities from my childhood extorting development and developers on particular projects. However, I sit here and I listen to very, very intelligent, capable lobbyists being hired by individual companies coming up here to advocate on behalf of their client. And that's advocacy, and that's effective, and that's what they're supposed to do. My speaker card would read Senator Jason Pizzo advocating on behalf of the constituents of Senate District 37, who would like this kind of effort and this kind of enthusiasm and this kind of ability to make amendments last minute in voluminous, complex terms on their behalf. So I'm with what Ms. Hebrink said, and for growth management and for having reliance, and it's really, that's what it is, being able to pro forma and pencil something out with a reliance on what costs associated will be, on what, and the goalposts don't get moved back. I'm 100% in favor of, and I look forward to working with the bill sponsor on that. But there's ickiness in a lot of these bills as the way they are, and that they're so quickly amended and then so quickly changed and so nimble. So as it relates to development and accommodating the growth that we have anticipated in our state, I'm all for it. But there's a lot of ickiness that we need to work through.
Thank you. Senator Sharif, you're recognized.
Yes, Senator McClain, I just want to say I really appreciate the work that you put in. And I know that when you put these bills in that you are thinking through it and you're thoughtful about it. In terms of my district and in terms of the counties that, in the county that I represent, you know, it's Broward County's 31 municipalities. They have flooded my lines in my office. If I can tell you, you know how to make a phone ring and you know how to make my email smoke, okay? Over 200 emails against and over 68 phone calls to my office, and many of them from my district complaining about this bill. I think that in its current form, I can't support it, but hopefully by the time that it makes it to the floor, I will be able to. So thank you.
Yep. Senator Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Chair. And I'll be very brief also. Senator McClain, one, thank you for the amendment. I think some of the concerns that were outlined of individuals who came to my office to speak to me, I think you addressed that. But one of the things that I want to point out to you, of those 150 calls, a lot of them did come from the 73% of individuals who voted in Orange County, in Seminole County. And I think I'm going to stand with those individuals. And I know you're going to continue to work on the bill, Senator McClain, and I'm sure I'll speak more about it in rules with some of my other concerns. But I will. My biggest disagreement with the bill as it stands right now is that I feel as if that we're going in a direction that go against communities that have already put rules in place and voted, and the people have voted for what they don't want. And again, once again, we're coming in Tallahassee and telling them what to do. So I'm going to be down today on the bill.
President Pastrana, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to try to be brief as well. I'm going to vote for the bill because I have the opportunity to intervene in the future, and because Chair McClain has been really, really open to discussion, and you can see by the amendment. I have kind of an interesting perspective. I'm looking at sort of a long-range view of the time view of the state of Florida. And, we went through the Live Local bill, and it's right now in its third year of implementation. And there's some local governments that are like, we're not doing it. We're out of here. We don't want anybody. We don't want them to live next door to us and all these terrible, terrible things. Those local governments are what we need to rein in. But I think this bill goes too far because it's not. And I think Senator Pizzo said it. We don't have, you're talking about administrative approval of a huge development. And yes, it was agricultural, but that's the center, that's the rural part of our state. That's the center of our state. What are we doing with our rural renaissance program? And its goal is to protect and preserve the heartland. What this is doing, I believe, is saying, okay, let's do one project after the other with just administrative approval. Is that good or bad? I don't know, but I think the people who live there should have the opportunity to weigh in on it. And they elected their local county commissioners and city council members to do that. And if we usurp that right, what we're doing is basically, let's just develop the entire state. Is that good or bad? I don't know, but I think the citizens who live there should have that opportunity. And one of the things that we've learned in our rural renaissance is that the people who live in those communities, they want to control their destiny. They don't want us to do it. And so I think we have to have the conversation about the things that Carrie talked about. Are local governments getting in the way of good development that has been approved or that we have a vision for? That's wrong. But if local governments are saying, wait a minute, we want citizen input on developing the rest of our state, I support that. So I'm going to vote for today because I really want to work at it, because we have to continue to talk about it. Because, 50 years from now, I don't want to see concrete from Fort Myers to Fort Lauderdale and everything in between. So that, that's my debate, and I'm going to vote for the bill, and I really want to work with you on it so that if it does show up in rules, it'll be a bill that I can vote for.
Anyone else wishing to debate? Just briefly, since my phone has blown up today as well, You know, I've had the chance to get to know a whole lot of new people in the last few months, and I will tell you there's a reason that we don't have elections in the middle of session. If I look tired, it's because I am. But the number one thing all of my new friends want to talk to me about is development, both those who want it and those who don't. So I think it is one of the existential challenges facing our state, in part because it's not just about development, it's about water, it's about roads, it's about infrastructure. And we have a great problem. We got 1,000 people, I think I was told 1,400 people who want to move here every day, and we can't close the door after we all got here, but we have a huge problem. We have 1,400 people who move here every day, and we've got to make sure that we've got a place for them to live, roads from the drive on, and an infrastructure that can keep up with it. I've gotten a lot of concerns about the ethanol thing, particularly from beachside communities today. But here's what I know as I think about leaving. One of the great things about this process is bills get heard over and over and over again in a very short period of time. And I know Stan McLean, and I've worked with him for 8 years, and I know that he's listened to everything that everybody's had to say here, and this thing's going to go through a lot of processes. So people don't have to be concerned saying, oh my God, this is it, or it's not. I suspect long after I'm gone, in 2 weeks, this bill will be changed and be different than what it is, and I trust him to get it there, and so I'm happy to support it today. And with that, Senator McLean, you're recognized to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, thank you. I kind of thought this might be how the conversation goes, having talked to most of you before the committee, and certainly I've talked with lots of stakeholders, but I think it's worthy of a discussion. I think this is worthy of a discussion, and I think that we can't just continually do the same thing. We passed the original Community Development Act in 1972, revised it in 85, updated it in 2011, and when I got on the county commission in 2004, we were in a growth pattern pretty much like we are right now. But things haven't changed a whole lot, and we're always trying to catch up, or it seems like we're always behind or something like that. And so I think I want to have, I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. I do want to talk about the rural enclaves real quick. It's an enclave. It is surrounded by development. It is the last guy that has a piece of property, and he says, I need to cash out, it's time for me to go. And decision makers say, yeah, but you can't have what everybody else got. That's not fair. That is fundamentally not fair. It is fundamentally, that is against every property right that I can think of. Do I want that to be a domino effect? No. If I wish we had a whiteboard, we could come up here and we could draw a bunch of scenarios and take a look, right? And I've gone over them in my own county. I've got a farmland preservation area, 200,000 acres. I was on the county commission when we put the farmland preservation area in. I was on the county commission when we set our urban growth boundary. We have tried to grow. We have absolutely grown inside of our urban growth boundary for the last 20 years. And so this doesn't, and under current law, you can declare, you go to your county commission and or if it was in a municipality, which it could be, go to them and say, I'm declaring my property as an agricultural enclave. You automatically get an approval. Your land use approval, your comp plan approval is approved. Then you enter into negotiation with whatever local government is there. It's fairly close to administrative approval. You just then have to work out the details of what you get. And so one of the things in this enclave, this isn't new. This is not a new statute. It's one that we were going to amend, and there's some other thought processes I have on that. And so my door is always open. I think all the stakeholders know that. I think the cities and counties know that. We've always had great relationships. I would challenge, and this is what I've said, when people say to me, they say, oh, this is going to destroy some boundary in Seminole County. This is going to destroy some boundary in Marion County. This is going to do that. I challenge you to bring that example to me and let me look at it. Maybe, so how can we fix the language? So that's not my intent, is not to go into my own farmland preservation area. That's not my intent. My intent is I want to pack as much people into that urban growth boundary that we have so that they don't go out into the country, so they don't sprawl out into the country. That's what I'd like to do. I'm a 7th generation Floridian. My family's fixing to be designated as a pioneer family in Florida. We've been here a long time. And so Florida's precious to me, and my children are here. But we have to figure this thing out, and we can't just not talk about it. And then to the affordable housing thing, density helps you get there sometimes, and because land gets to be so expensive. And so I want to have a conversation. I think it warrants discussion. Senator Pasadomo, you did a great job on the Live Local bill. You took something and really said, you know what, we've got to do some things to be able to help with affordable housing. And so, and this is just an extension of that. And again, it's a passion for me. It's something I like to work on. It's something I feel like, from having been in local government for 12 years, I have some understanding of what types of issues come before local government folks. So I would appreciate your support today. You all have my commitment that I will continue to work on this. Obviously, there will be some things we got to strip out. There will be some things that maybe we get to change. Certainly, this is not to run over local government. This is to try to find a happy medium between growing and not. And so I don't want to control what happens in the local community. I want people, when they come up here and tell me that they're interested in affordable housing, that it shows when they do things back home and make decisions. And so with that, I'll close. Thank you for letting me ramble today.
Tatiana, please call the roll on CS for SB 1118.
Senator Jones?
No.
Senator Leek?
Yes.
Senator Pasadomo? Senator Pizza?
No.
Senator Sharif?
No.
Senator Trumbull?
Yes.
Vice Chair Senator Fine?
Yes.
Chair Senator McLean?
Yes.
By your vote, CS for SB 1118 is reported favorably. With that, I'll hand back to Gamble.
No, thanks. Oh, where's my, here we go.